You're about to hear the best quote I've ever heard about challenges. No one needs to dry clean their pajamas. COVID has changed the world, and it has especially changed the dry cleaning industry and the cleaning industry and the way businesses go to market to meet their needs. And you're about to hear a gritty story about family business and the need to change and the need to grow. Brian Kimmel is next.
This is A Dash of Grit. Recipes for success from courageous leaders who overcome challenges and build great things. Now, podcasting from Spire to leaders in local communities like yours, here is Brian Leflock.
And let's get cooking. So listen, family business is hard. I know it's not starting from scratch because it's already there, but family business is not easy. It's got its own set of challenges, and we're going to talk about those today on Dash of Grit. Our guest today is a fourth generation family member, generational leader, and director of business development at Kimmel Corporation in Upper Sandusky here in Ohio. And here to talk with us today is Brian Kimmel. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you asking me to come on and speak with you a little bit today.
I'm thrilled to talk with you. I know that you've been very successful, and I know it's also not easy to run a family business over the years, and so we're going to talk about that. So I'm glad you're here. Brian, before we start, there are people that don't know Kimmel Corporation or what you do. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what you're proud of. Let's talk about success, brag a little bit. Tell us what's going well at Kimmel Corporation.
Overall, we're a fourth generation family-owned and operated uniform and linen rental company based in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. I am next generation owner with my brother, and my father and my uncle operate the day-to-day operations. So we cover roughly 40% of the state, and you see a bunch of trucks running around out there. Contrary to popular belief, we were brought up through many years being a dry cleaning company, and now it's kind of evolved where dry cleaning is minority as far as what we're doing to our customer base. All those trucks have a bunch of uniforms and towels and linens, mats, restroom products, you name it. So it's something that we're out there every day trying to grow a business, and it's a very competitive world out there, and that's what makes it fun.
And so just to give us a little bit of understanding of where you've come from, the business started with your family. I assume it started, I don't know. I assume it started from a very humble beginnings, small, and grew. And I'm interested in that, and also what you've done since you kind of took over the reins and got there, how much you've grown the company. I'm interested in that history.
Yeah, absolutely. So our company started in Marion, Ohio, and then my great-grandfather purchased a dry cleaning company here in Upper Sandusky in 1931. And back then, it was dry cleaning goods, then family-owned items, used to launder for families. Not a lot of people had washers and dryers back then. And then also, as things evolved, and there's a lot of tailoring, I guess, if you see some popular movies from long ago and of those time periods, people wore tailored suits and they went to their local tailor. We don't see that as much anymore, but that was popular back then. So that was a stronghold for us. And then the business evolved into the hospital laundry scene. And we did a lot of hospitals that were community-owned hospitals, running a couple shifts doing that. And then it evolved into, we always did dry cleaning. Then dry cleaning really took off in the 80s. My dad and my uncle came into the company, bought a couple different dry cleaning companies. So we're up to 10 different dry cleaning stores.
Okay.
Grandfather actually was the president of the Dry Cleaning Association, which was a U.S. Membership company. So there's a lot of notoriety to that.
Right.
And then as time went on, it evolved a little bit more, and we're no longer as much into the dry cleaning, where we still do it, but it's more of the rental scene. So I guess back to your question, what have I been doing since I've been here? Try to keep busy. And usually it's not hard to do, but I've been here for 12 years. In the last 10 years, we've doubled in revenue, and our rental end of the company, which I work in, has tripled in revenue. And purely due to our people. I mean, I believe that, we have good people. We take care of the customers because I was always taught we don't make anything. A lot of manufacturing companies, they come up with a new product or new innovation. We don't make anything. All we can do is service people, and it's just shirts and pants. So there's nothing fancy about that. So you have to be really good at it.
Yeah.
So it's fairly complex on taking a couple thousand garments every day and washing them and getting them back out the door on the right truck to the right customer to the right person. But we feel we're very good at that.
Very good. And so let's talk about the grit. Let's talk about, we're talking about grit in a cleaning company, but we know grit is the hard work. That's what we're talking about.
Right.
So, I assume since you're fourth generation, it was all set and easy and running and you just stepped right in and feet on the desk and no worries, right? Or I imagine there was some grit. So can you share some stories of hardships and hurdles that you had to overcome to get where you are today?
Okay. Well, I out of school, I went and worked for a Fortune 400 company. And truthfully, I'm a salesman by trade. And I don't think most salesmen know they're going to be in the sales industry profession. I didn't go to school to do that, but I did end up getting in some classes and I enjoyed it. So I went and did that in the Carolinas for a few years. And it was your prototypical, Fortune 400 company where you had phone calls to make, doors to knock on, you name it. It was a grind. It was truly a grind. Every Friday you sat in a boardroom with 20 other sales reps and they put you up against each other and see who's done well and who has not. And so that was the environment. That was my first, job out of school. And that was a learning curve for me. I had an idea what it would be like, but it was very eye-opening. And I liked it. It was very competitive. Then 2 years later, came back into this organization. I didn't have a true understanding of our culture and how we're growing the business. So in the summers, I was here every summer. I've done every job in the plant. Talk about grit. I've washed clothes, I've dried clothes, you name it. But it's when you get to that point, I was challenged to see how is this going to work.
Yeah, so I'm interested in a couple of things. One, why didn't you just go into the family business? It was already up and running, and I'm sure there was a slot for you, or perhaps not. And the second question I have is, when you got there, what were the issues at the time that you realized needed to be addressed? So a couple of those opportunities to talk about some hurdles.
Yeah, most definitely. Regarding the first question, my father always told me that you're not coming back to the company until you go somewhere else and learn.
Good for him.
So that was his rule. He did not want, he did come straight out of school. So did his brother into the company. And he felt as though we need to learn other things to bring value back. So I'm glad he did do that. I did learn a lot. As far as when I got here, honestly, it was just coming out of our most recent recession. I think the recession was 2017 to 2007 to 2007 to 2009, something like that. And so, honestly, our business was flat, to say it kindly. So the dry cleaning industry had slowly tapered off. And I came back, guns a-blazing, thinking, all right, I'm going to go out and sell stuff. Well, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I don't know how to sell shirt and pant programs, you name it. So I had to learn on my own. I honestly, I just went out and I knocked on doors all day, every day, and I made lots of phone calls. And I learned kind of who I was and the industry by doing that. There was a lot of nights I went home and I was very frustrated because I was used to being very successful at my past job and came into this and thought this is a piece of cake. Well, it wasn't. So it took a little while to get on my feet. And I did have a lot of other area companies. When I say area, we're part of other organizations that are privately owned organizations in our industry. They've been through it all. I actually even, jumped in a car for 12 hours and went and rode with other sales reps to really understand how it's done. So it was something that it was more of a self-challenge. My father, understood it, but at the same time he didn't. I'm not going to say because he did the same thing, but it was X amount of years ago. So I think he may have even enjoyed seeing myself learn and try to figure it out. So
you were going to say fail, weren't you? He enjoyed seeing you fall a little bit. Yeah, that's okay. I'm interested then. So I know in family businesses, and I've seen it happen. The first generation built it to a certain thing, and the second generation kind of has that same passion that they learned from dad. Third generation sometimes, I'm not saying it happened with you, but third generation sometimes doesn't have that passion. It's like, that was grandpa's thing. I'm just kind of here running the show. And a lot of times third generation businesses fall down a little bit, let alone a fourth generations. I'm wondering from you and your perspective, when you got there, what was the environment? I know it was down economy and things, but were there things that just needed to be addressed and needed to be changed to do things in a more modern way that you would want to see them done?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the biggest part of that was we had an excellent core. Okay. So we had good people. We had good, management, everybody cared, but there was no maybe vision on growth moving forward. And I'm a big believer, if you're not growing, you're going the other way, because we're in a very competitive market where everybody is moving forward. So with that said, the culture was kind of come in day to day, do your thing. I mean, we had a salesman before, but it was more of a what I call a banker, mentality. Someone gives me a call, I'm going to go out and I'm going to, try to get a new customer. Mm-hmm. Where I came in, I was like, well, what are we doing? We're not here to read newspapers and drink coffee for the first 2 hours of the day. So that was a big change. I'm sure I ruffled a few feathers, and they're like, well, here comes the boss's son, watch out. And to a sense, I think that was okay, because, we were able to get some people on board. As you grow, you got to be able to evolve quickly. And now we're to the point where I truly believe like we have changes that happen within our organization to help us absorb growth and be the best service-oriented company that we can possibly be. And people are used to it. They're like, all right, let's do it. So the mentality is now, they're used to this and they're used to these challenges where they're not as big, hurdles or challenges as they used to be. So that's fun to see.
Mm-hmm. And was there ever any time when you kind of butted heads with your father? He had set things up. He'd run a good business. He was doing things the way he wanted to do things. And that is right in any owner's mind. And then here comes the new gun who happens to be the son. Was there ever any tension or times when you guys just butted heads a little bit? And tell me about that.
No particular instances.
Okay.
But there's no doubt there's some things that I would bring to the table and he would have a tough understanding on how are we going to do this, Brian? And I was like, well, I don't know. I brought it here. They're a new customer. Why don't you figure it out? From that standpoint, yes. It's funny because my brother's he oversees all of our service reps and all of our guys out on route. So I'm lucky enough to have him right on the other side of the wall from me. It's kind of unique where we grew up with bedrooms next to each other and now we have offices right next to each other. So do we butt heads sometimes? Oh, yeah. Is it for good reason? Yes, I truly believe that. Because if you're not being open about what's going on, things are going to go, they're not going to stay on the same path. And if we don't have the same vision to stay on the same path and where we're trying to get to, it's going to take a lot longer to get there.
So one of the things that I know about where I work, and anytime I've been in an office environment, we butt heads all the time. Everybody's got, their visions and things of that sort, and you come together as a team, but you're butting heads sometimes. At the end of the day, you go to separate homes. And I know you guys go to separate homes too, but you're family. Tell me a little bit about the dynamic of running a family business and yet never completely able to leave that at the office. Is that the case?
It's always on your mind. So when you're in a family business, and even those people who are very dedicated to their business, they don't have to be family. We have a lot of employees that I would consider family when it comes to business. I have 2 uncles that work here. I have a cousin. I have a brother. I have some of their extended family, my aunt. So do I see them all every day? No, I do not. But do we get together and do we talk business outside of work? Yes. And we do try to keep that to a minimum and be more lighthearted. But sometimes some of your better conversations do happen when you're outside of work. You're out having a drink somewhere and you bring up a topic and you have a more thorough discussion on it, because sometimes emotions can get in the way, but sometimes emotions can get a true feeling on what someone really feels, where they may not have revealed it in a work atmosphere or at work or in the office. So, it happens. We actually do family retreats where it's just our leadership team, which is family, and, our controller, and we have good conversations. Yeah. And we make it a point to get outside of the office and talk business for a full day, have dinner, and, come back to work a little bit, refresh, and have an understanding where everybody stands.
Can you think back to a time in a family business when things started to get a little rocky and you actually started to get a little afraid? In other words, if this goes the way it's going, we're going to have some issues. We're not just going to have business issues, but we're going to have family issues. And I know things work out. But was there a time when things were so tense or hard in a family business that you're kind of wondering, wow, I'm not sure where this is going to end?
What I get myself into, huh?
Yeah.
I'm lucky where I've never been to that point. I know that doesn't help your podcast much. I'm telling you that, but
lie to me, Brian. Lie to me.
I know. But to be honest, we're looking at transition, of ownership in the near future with our organization. And is that something where you have to have conversations? Absolutely. Are they hard conversations? Yeah, they can be very hard conversations. I'm lucky enough where our family is pretty tight knit, and we do believe in supporting the family. I'm involved in other organizations, groups where their family did not work out so well as far as that dynamic, and they had to work through that. And you hear some horror stories. You truly, truly do. And a lot of times the people that get hurt out of that are the innocent, and whether it be the employees or important people that have been with the company for years, but now they can't be there because something happened with one of the owner's, sisters or whatever the case is. So, I'm sure you've talked to some folks yourself. You've been around business long enough that, it happens. But I feel very fortunate that we're in a place where we don't have that issue.
In a family business, and you are such a tight family, and that's amazing. You have employees that aren't family. Yeah. In a family business, at Spire, I love every single employee there. I'm wondering if it's different in a family business where you love them even more and bring them all into the family even more. I don't know the answer to that, but is that something that happens in a family business with their employees?
Yeah. Are you saying maybe you treat some of your employees like they were a family a little more than otherwise?
I'm wondering if there's a difference at all, whether you treat them differently.
I think that's different for every individual. So how I work with or manage some of our employees may be different than some of my other family members. I think there is a tendency to do that because we're human beings. When I'm passionate about something and I feel someone else shares that passion, I'm going to gravitate towards that. And I would like, I am going to kind of have them per se by my side or in my wing or however you want to describe that, because I truly believe that you have to surround yourself with like-minded people, and in doing that, having not just shared values, but how am I going to get from point A to point B? And if they are looking to do the same, you're going to become close friends.
Yeah, no, that makes good sense. You said something else too. I wanted to dive into a little bit different than just family business. When great-great-grandfather started it, and I think that's 4 generations, right? He it was dry cleaning, I believe, and now it's uniform rentals and equipment rentals and things of that sort. The transition, what caused that? What inspired that? What role did you play into bringing Kimmel Corporation where it is now, doing what it does now? Talk to me a little bit about the hurdles that the company had to overcome to maintain its presence and growth strategy.
That's a great question. In I'm going to say the 80s especially, we had a lot of growth in the dry cleaning part, and, it was slowly building, buying companies. And then it hit the 90s, you saw a trend of people wearing dry clean goods kind of plateau.
Okay.
And, in dry cleaning, you're going to have these ups and downs with trends in fashion, especially that drives that. So people, even today are wearing more wrinkle-free garments. And so they don't need pressed, they don't need dry cleaned, and it's just a more casual society. I mean, at the end of the day, you go to your local bank and, folks might be wearing a polo shirt. Well, 20 years ago, they were wearing a shirt and tie. Yep. I just spoke to someone the other day, says that they were at a funeral and they saw someone wearing jeans. That to me is odd. Now, it's not odd to other people. So, The trends have changed. Weddings. There's another example.
Yeah.
You go to weddings, they're casual weddings. Nothing wrong with it. It's just different than what it used to be. And even more today with, unfortunately with COVID, a lot of your executives that used to wear, apparel that would need to be professionally cleaned, dry cleaned, they might be working from home.
Mm-hmm.
So, you don't need to dry clean a pair of pajamas. just the way it is. So you can wear whatever you'd like when you're sitting at home. You might have a nice shirt on, and that might be like a sports broadcaster. I don't know.
That's right.
Brian, you might be sitting at home in nice shorts right now.
Trust me, I'm wearing pants. And
okay,
I assume you are too.
Dry clean.
All folks named Brian in this podcast must be wearing pants.
There you go. But so that's kind of what happened, things that affected the dry cleaning.
Yeah.
So then we saw a great opportunity in the rental market, being that, there's a handful of local providers in our area, and they're all great companies, but it's mostly dominated by the national companies. By national companies, you've seen some out there, being it Cintas, UniFirst, Aramark. They're big companies. They're good at what they do, but the structure on how they service their people is completely different on how we service our customers. And when we're servicing our customers, it's very personal. We get to know them, we get to know their needs, and we provide programs that fits those rather than here's a shirt and a pant, good luck. So we saw that in the market. And when I got here, I didn't know any different. So I think, my dad and my uncle probably saw that opportunity. And when I came back, they naturally said, here's what we'd like you to be doing. And went from there.
And so those changes that you made, it sounds like they were proactive. You kind of saw, you forecasted, tried to predict trends, and they weren't reactive decisions to try to stem off some kind of a major emergency. Is that accurate?
Right. I mean, there was no major emergency, but at the same time, and to grow, you got to figure out where to do that. And if you don't think it is in the dry cleaning part of it, you need to switch. You need get on a different horse, and you need to start riding a different way. So we've done that. We've done a good job at that, and we have goals to continue that moving forward.
Fantastic. And so let's talk about moving forward. What's on the horizon? What's the next challenge that you see that you're going to need to display some grit to overcome to get to that next level?
Yeah, I mean, it's competitive. I mean, some people look at uniform rental, especially, as a commodity almost, and our competitors are very competitive when it comes to price. But how we bring our customer service into the fold, I believe, is key to what we do. And it's really finding those companies that have the same values and appreciate what you're bringing to the table, and they understand here's how much grief or pain that Kimmel's is going to save me because they take care of it. I make a phone call, I put it down, and I go back to doing what I need to do for my organization to help it earn money. They're not worrying about shirts and pants and mats. And there's so many companies that we speak with that have this issue. They're like, I talk to my provider, once a week or twice a week. I'm like, why? Well, because I need to fix this, and this person's short their garments. They didn't get them back. Well, you shouldn't be doing that. You need to be running your HR department. You need to be running your maintenance department. You are not doing, what you need to be doing to, help your organization. So a big thing that we have, I guess you asked about, what are you doing on the horizon?
Yeah.
COVID has actually allowed us to focus a little bit more on technology, and something that we planned on doing. So we doubled the size of our plane about 2 years ago for growth, and we're filling that up, but technology was part of that. So we're actually been putting ultra high frequency chips that are about this big in all of our shirts and all of our pants. Okay. So what that means is when you turn in your dirty clothes, we bring it into our plant. We actually, it goes through a portal, and it tells us every shirt and every pant that's in that buggy per se. So there might be 300 pairs of shirts and 200 pair of pants in there.
Yeah.
And it tells us every one of them. So therefore, when it goes through the wash process, the drying process, and gets sorted out, they have to be scanned. And when they go through the scanner, it tells you, hey, we checked in 4 pair of shirt and 5 pair of pants. Now we need to check out 4 pair of shirt and 5 pair of pants. And if it's not complete, the bundle's not complete, it's going to tell you, the screen will go red, be like, hey, this isn't complete. You cannot return it to your customer. So that really puts us head and shoulders above a lot of other companies in the industry because they're not currently doing that in our area. And it's huge for what we do. And it's kind of funny because people think you're putting microchips in your shirts and pants. And yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff. So some people think that we can track them. They have GPS. No, we can't do that. But the technology in there, it's really cool. Like I can take your shirt, Brian, and I can tell you last year you turned it in 20 times and you had 2 buttons replaced. Wow. That's the profile I can see online. So it's a whole history of the actual garment.
Every industry has to step up and take those next steps into the next generation of what's available to them. And you guys have done that. And so if you don't mind, I bet that there are listeners out there in a family business that it's not quite so easy it hasn't been easy, but it's not so tight. And there are fractures. And I'm wondering, would it be okay if anybody wants to reach out to you and talk about it a little bit? Do you mind getting your ear bended a little bit, or maybe even just talking about Kimmel Cleaner or Kimmel Corporation and what you can do for them? How would they reach out to you?
Feel free to call me here at the office. Our number is 419-294-1959, or my email address. Everybody can get a hold of me there. It's brian.kimmel@kimmelcleaners.com. And you do make a good point that being in a family business you're a minority, and talking to others is very helpful and very refreshing to understand that you're not the only one that's in that boat. And honestly, that's one thing I do enjoy about my job here is I work with a lot of family businesses, and we can have a lot of good conversation and gets down to the meat and potatoes, and it's not about shirts and pants. It's about how do you get through day to day on some of your challenges, and some of these challenges you think is only you. That's not true. No. Because it's so common when you have certain issues within your organization, because not every day is a cakewalk.
Yeah, and that's what this show is about. I want the folks that are listening who are trying and struggling and going through their own challenges and hurdles to know that it's not better across the fence. The grass isn't greener over there. Those people that look successful have had just as many issues as you have, and they're still having them. And you come to work every day with grit, and you have to show it so you can get past those things. So thank you for sharing your story, Brian. I really do appreciate it. Before I let you go, I want to do a quick plug for Spire. That's my company. Spire Marketing is a company that comes alongside businesses, small, medium-sized businesses, and really tries to help them grow through some of those challenges, getting past the hurdles of growth and revenue generation, lead generation, systems, things of that sort. So if you are looking for a partner as far as advertising and marketing goes, look to us. We're Spire Advertising, Spire Marketing. I am Brian Lefelak. I'm the Director of Sales with Spire Marketing. And I want to thank you, Brian, for sharing your story, for being vulnerable about your family business and the growth of your family business, and about the grit that you showed long term. Thank you for being a guest on Dash of Grit.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate you having me on.
I'm really glad you were here. And for everybody out there, Dash of Grit happens once a week. Go back and look for something that you think is interesting. And until we meet again, get gritty. Talk to you next.
This is a Dash of Grit. Recipes for success from courageous leaders who overcome challenges and build great things.